Senator Michèle Audette was given a distinct honor today, presented with the 4 millionth Moose Hide campaign pin. Now, this is in recognition of the senator's work fighting and raising awareness about gender-based violence, both before and during her time as senator. The Moose Hide campaign is an Indigenous grassroots organization, and to tell us a bit more about it, we're now joined by Senator Michèle Audette herself. Senator, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you.
So I want to begin with your reaction to be presented again the 4 millionth pin of the Moose Hide campaign. How significant is that for you?
Well, it was huge. It started when we received the invitation or the request, and I was like, it is big. But it was this morning when I was in the same room of, people, grassroots people, family, and the daughters of Monsieur Lacerte, and I presume it was a little square, like we see since the beginning of this campaign. But it was a huge, beautiful beading with the symbol of the moose on it. And it became very, very, very obvious for me that ceremony, powerful, and the responsibility that I have to carry until I don't breathe, I would say.
Well, let's talk a bit about both, beginning with the Moose Hide campaign. As I said right off the beginning, this is an Indigenous grassroots-led organization. What sets it apart for you?
Well, it tells the rest of Canada that for too long, I would say, that we denounce and still today denounce that it's something we're facing every day, but also we come with solution. We come with place where we want to mobilize Canadian people, no matter where you're from or where you live, that you can be part of the solution. And the beauty also is that for us, we believe as Indigenous women, where I'm coming from, that men are part of the solution and they could do something. So a dad who spoke to his daughter when they went moose hunting, they decide together to do this initiative, and where men stand beside us, not for us, beside us. And that, for me, it's very powerful.
Tackling gender violence by having the participation of men and boys. Now, but the statistics around gender-based violence in this country, you talk about your lifetime work, the responsibility that falls on you. And this isn't all on you, obviously, but the numbers are still staggering. According to StatsCan, every 6 days, a woman is killed by an intimate partner in this country. When it comes to Indigenous women and girls, they are more likely to experience sexual violence than non-Indigenous women and girls. Does the issue get enough attention, do you think?
No, it's not. It's not the same, though, when I was in my 50s or 20s and 30s, that now we cannot pretend that it's an isolated situation and it's happening only over there or this place. Everybody knows, because there's a national inquiry, because there is that initiative and many movement across Canada that says enough is enough, and these are the facts. But I want to say also that, yes, intimate partner, but what we notice with the national inquiry, it is also because I'm outside, and it's not even my spouse or ex-partner, it's because I'm an Indigenous woman that I was a target. And that's, for me, it's unacceptable.
Do you think there's been progress made on that? I don't know if many Canadians were aware of that fact, except for the last few years.
Progress, hard to say, but one thing I noticed over the 30 years of being involved, or since I was born, but obviously I remember more the past 30 years, that there's a conversation that is there right now that it didn't happen before. We have a report, a national inquiry. We have the TRC also, the Truth and Reconciliation. We didn't have those reports, which is the Canadian language. We're telling you this is wrong, and this is the solution that came from grassroots families and women who think that it might save their life or the next generation of young women that are coming. So it wasn't there before. And to conclude very quickly, Joyce Echaquan, one of our sisters who left the world in circumstance that nobody should leave the world like this. Now in Quebec, we see faces or people that would sign article, op-eds that are not even Indigenous, that are walking beside us. Not for us, but beside us. And it's huge for me.
You know, it's also very interesting because in speaking with Indigenous leaders in this country, they always point out the fact that if we're on the road to conciliation, if this was a story, we're actually only in the first chapter. We're not anywhere near the end of the first chapter. We're just at the first paragraph of the first chapter. And with this organization, the Moose Hide Campaign, it's not only about gender-based violence, but it's also raising the issue that the violence that they're trying to address has its roots in colonialization. Can you talk about that?
Well, as an example, when I was born, I normalized the violence. I normalized that because my mom is Innu and my dad is Quebecois, that there is a wagon, and they used to call it like that, on the train. This is for the savages, and this is for the white people, until 1989. I normalized that. So for me today, I don't think we would accept that. But the beauty is that that train today, my nation owned that train. Reconciliation, but also resilience, and telling people that the problem was imposed to us, the bias is still there, or the behavior, attitude, policy, and so on are still there, but because we know now, we don't want to be complicit. We want to act and change those things. So colonialism, it's not over. We're still acting in those spaces, whether we like it or not, I don't, but we understand that we need to change it, and I feel the change is happening.
Now, the Moose Hide campaign, their annual day is coming up, May the 11th.
Yes.
So a couple of weeks away. What do you hope Canadians, both Indigenous and non-Indigenous, do and take a moment for on that day?
Well, to realize that maybe it's look like very simple, but it generate conversation. We exchange, but also personally, when we wear it, it's because I commit, I stand, or it's my personal responsibility. But no matter where we work, where we involve, or where we volunteer, there's always a friend that we know that is facing violence, or it's hidden or taboo. This campaign maybe could help this person to understand that there is project, programs, initiatives, services to help her or him to go away from that violent situation. So it's a responsibility, it's a protection also, but it's also something that you have to commit. You just don't wear it. You're in action. You have to do something. Well, that's what I do, full of love.
Well, I love that you took the time to speak with us today.
Merci.
Senator Michèle Audette, thank you very much for it.
Thank you.